Good morning. Welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 276. I am Lisa, also known as Fibernymph across most of social media, and I will put my screen in here that will let you know where you can find me online and how to contact me. Alrighty. Today is Thursday. It is March 1st, so happy March, y'all. I'm from Pittsburgh. We don't typically say y'all, but I think I watch enough podcasts where people say y'all, so it sounds really natural to me. So I'm y'allin' y'all today. Y'all. 55 seconds in and I am already being silly. This is a precursor for how the rest of this podcast might go. This is actually probably going to be an abbreviated episode because I have a lot of stuff to do. Let me talk to you about how my life goes sometimes, okay? This isn't technically a rant or what's that word? Tangent. It's not really a tangent. This is applicable. You know, I've got shows coming up. Like I'm leading into my heavy-duty show season coming up this spring in a couple of weeks. And the way things go for me with regard to shows is, you know, working backwards. Okay, here's show day, right? The 2 or 3 days, let's say 2 days before show day, I want to know that everything is already done. Everything major is taken care of. In a perfect world, everything major is finished. And so those 2 days I can use just for tying up loose ends, making sure I have everything that I need, all my stuff, signs, last minute stuff. But yarn related things should all be done by those last 2 days, right? However, the week prior to those 2 days, that's like crunch time. That's like my last minute really drive, balls to the wall. I don't even know if that's the appropriate thing. I don't really know what that means. It just seemed applicable. Yarn balls to the wall. Gotta get it done. Gotta get her done. Everything has to get done. Like that hasn't been done needs to get finished up in that last week prior to those last 2 days prior to the show, right? But then there's the 7 days or the week before that last week that isn't quite high tension crunch time, but it's like that's the week where I just go gangbusters, which is different than yarn balls to the wall, I guess. I don't know. It's heavy duty work time, not panic work time. Like that last week can tend to be panic work time, but that second to the last week is just heavy duty work time. I'm getting this done. I'll work all the time as much as I can possibly do. That's the week I am in now because in 2 weeks and 2 days I have my first show of the show season. And so I am in that pre-manic crunch time week. However, after I have my first show of the year, which is on the 18th, I have my second show of the year 6 days later. I have never done 2 shows back to back that close, ever before. So I don't have even a full week in between those 2 shows, let alone a full week plus 2 days, let alone 2 full weeks plus 2 days. So I'm really, really, really crunching right now, getting it all done. So all that to say, this needs to be an abbreviated episode because I have a lot of work to do today, apart from the podcast and apart from the shop. It's show time. It's show prep time, and that's where my brain is right now. My brain is actually a lot of other places too, but we'll get into that later. All that to say, I do have a little bit of knitting I'm going to show you, mainly because I'm really excited about it and I like it and I really want to show it to you now rather than wait till the next time I record. I have prizes to announce for the January-February Along, which is now done. So I'm going to announce the prize winners. I have no new things to show you. What else do I have to talk about in 90%? Sorry, got to bend over in my notes. Yeah, I guess that's it for 90%. I have a little bit of 10%. I actually have a whole lot of 10%, but I'm going to talk about it this much because it's all pretty much one thing. And then I have shop news, which isn't extensive. There is a shop date update happening on Friday, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, so that's March 2nd. But it's got a really exciting pre-order going up, and I cannot wait to show that to you. So please hang in there for that. I'm super excited about it. And then I will remind you about what my shows are that are coming up, and then I think we'll be done. That's it for today. That's all there is, I hope. I'm going to try to not go off onto tangents, though. I'm going to try to keep this minimal. Yeah. All right, so knitting. First of all, I did not work on my arboreal. For no good reason. I just didn't. However, I'm going to talk about it for a minute because I did have a... Oh my gosh, excuse me. Gotta take a sip. I did have a question about it after I recorded last time. I talked about the fact that I was going to do a swatch with color work in it so I could soak that just to make sure that the blue yarn isn't going to let go of any residual dye and turn my light colored yarn light blue, because I really would like to avoid that if possible. In hindsight, the smartest thing I could have done would have been to test that yarn prior to knitting the entire yoke, but I didn't, so I have to deal with it now. Anyway, Angela, who is Beagle Knitter Mom. Angela, I'm sorry, I always get your username wrong. Anyway, Angela asked me in the comments on YouTube what I was going to do if it turned out that the blue was going to bleed on me. And that was an excellent question, and I wish I had a really, really good answer. My first thing will be I will probably do a second swatch, and I will put a color catcher in the water with it to see if that will mitigate any residual dye leaching. Fingers crossed it will. I have not actually used that technique personally in hand soaking. I know other people say it works or it can help. I've used color catchers in my laundry. And if you're not familiar with what a color catcher is, you find it in the laundry aisle. They look like dryer sheets, but they're something you actually put in the laundry. They're called color catchers. I'm pretty sure they're by Clorox. I should have brought my box in. I have 2 boxes. I purchased them years ago. I hardly ever use them. But they've worked in my regular laundry when you throw a sheet in the laundry machine, the washing machine. They will help, and they make things a little bit brighter. Matter of fact, I think the few times I did use them, I used them in my whites load, which is goofy because there's nothing bleeding in my whites load, but it actually does make my whites whiter if I use it rather than bleach. So I don't know. So I will try that if I find I'm having an issue. And if that doesn't really help, I will probably just do what I tell anyone is the best practice for soaking something that you're concerned about colors, you know, bleeding or fading onto other colors. I will soak it in very cool water, not warm, not hot, cool, like not ice cold, but cool. Since it wouldn't be a wash, I don't know that I will even use an additive like soak or eucalyptus. I know some people have said that soak can encourage the release of color from yarn. Again, I cannot speak to that personally because I don't tend to use soak. I use eucalyptus more often. But that is anecdotal stuff from other people have told me that. So your mileage may vary with that. So that's probably what I'll do. I will soak it in cool water, probably not using an additive since I'm not actually washing it, and I will not leave it soak very long. I never leave my stuff soak very long anytime I hand wash or soak swatches or soak finished objects. Never. I put them in long enough for them to get saturated. I swish them around a little bit, not enough to cause any felting. Of course, I'm not using hot water, so you need the heat and the swishing to the agitation to get felting usually. But honestly, even when I'm washing things, I put them in the water with whatever I'm using to wash it with. I swish them around a little bit. I might do a little bit of squeezy stuff. And then I take it out. I don't leave things sit in my soak water ever. Because I don't see a purpose to it. You just want the item to get wet enough that it's going to block or do whatever you need it to do. So I'll leave it in a few minutes, take it out. You know, I'm using Cascade 220, which is a non-superwash wool, so it will, it absorbs water fairly quickly compared to superwash. Superwash sometimes takes a little bit longer for the water to get in everywhere. That varies also, depending on the yarn, depending on how it's spun. Like the Icelandic, that took forever. My Hero cardigan, it took forever for that to fully get saturated because Icelandic itself, one of it by very nature, repels water. I mean, that's one of the nice things about it, which makes it very warm. I don't notice that as much with Cascade 220 items that I soak, but, you know, again, your mileage may vary. I'm just telling you what works for me. So that is probably what I'll do. And, you know, worst case scenario, I might end up with a sweater that does not have that stone-colored color work. It'll have light blue color work. Not what I set out to have, but if that's what happens, that's what happens. I'm not going to be too precious about it. I'll still have a really pretty color work sweater. So I'm not going to borrow trouble. Actually, I was thinking about this while I was taking a shower today. I could have just brought the yarn in the shower with me. Worn it around my neck, you know, seeing if it was going to bleed on me. I was laughing because I was watching Emily from Fibertown this morning and she was talking about soaking swatches. She's like, yeah, I just threw them in the bathtub with me. And then she's like, this is a little too intimate, isn't it? She makes me laugh. Anyway, I think I might wind off a little bit of yarn just from the blue skein and soak it by itself. Just, I have a white bowl, and I figure if I soak that in a little bit of water, I will, in a white bowl, I'll be able to see if any of the blue's coming off. And that might be all I need to do. I mean, I'll probably still do a colorwork swatch even if I don't see blue in the water, just to be safe, but that'll make me feel a little bit better about it. So that's my plan, and we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you posted. All right. So that's what I didn't work on this week, but I do have some things I did work on, so let's get to that. The inversible socks that I'm knitting for my daughter's roommate have grown. I love knitting socks in tandem like this. Yep. So they were, I want to say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were about here last time on this stripe. This is the 6th wide stripe, and this is where I'm going to put in the afterthought heel. So from here on down, this is foot. I have about 3.5 more inches to go on the foot part before I do the toes, and then I can cut in the afterthought heels. I'm going to use this yarn for this afterthought heel and vice versa. I like that look. I've seen other people do it, and it's fun with the inversibles. So this is my bedazzled base in the magenta, no, not magenta, it's peacock blue and electric purple. My electric purple and magenta are super close, but the electric purple is a little more purple. So that's progress on those. These have been a really good, just mindless knitting project. I had a telephone conference that I had to do last week for about an hour, and I just sat here and knit on these, and it was wonderful. Brainless knitting. So that's my one object that I've worked a lot on. The other one that I have put a good bit of work on is my Winnie shawl. Now, I was mispronouncing this. I did not know that. This pattern is by my friend Sarah Jordan, who is PA Knitwit, and I've been pronouncing it Wynn. It's spelled W-Y-N-N-E. I had a friend back in high school, a guy, his name was Wynn, W-Y-N-N, so I assumed when you put an E on it, that was just the feminine version of the name, but she told me that this was named after a friend of hers who it was pronounced Winnie. So kind of like Renee, except Winnie, I guess. Whatever. I was pronouncing it wrong. So here is what it looks like. And when you saw it last time, I was working on the main color garter stitch section at the top. As I told you the last time, I'm making this about 75% smaller than it's written to be made. I want a smaller version. Plus, I don't have quite enough yarn to do the version that's written. So, I did finish the main color, which I am using this, which is called Harvest Moon by Destination Yarn on her letter, I believe, yeah, letter base. So this is 100% superwash merino, 400 yards. It's just a really pretty tonal blue. I love this blue. It's really nice. My original plan, if you remember, was that I was going to use the other colorway by Destination Yarn, which is this one called November Witch. It's a variegated, obviously. I was going to use this for those stripes with the little bubbles in them. This is the combination I had started using for a different shawl that I decided not to do, ripped it out. I was alternating the variegated. I cut the skein, well, I divided the skein into 2 balls so I could alternate so I wouldn't end up with pooling in that first project. So that's why this is a small ball. At any rate, last night I did start the first stripe, and unfortunately, see, it didn't look like it was going to be an issue, but now that I'm looking at it, I can totally see why it was an issue. This has way too much blue in it that blends in with this blue, and it was, the stripe and the bubble part were just getting lost in the main color. It looked like there was hardly anything there in places. And I knew that wasn't going to work. I didn't even get through the first stripe before I realized, nope, I didn't even try to delude myself into thinking it was going to work. And I was texting Sarah, I'm like, this isn't working. I can't use this colorway, which was a bummer because we were both really anxious to see what this would look like as the stripe. So I tinked it out and I said, I'll look for something else in the morning. And so I did. And I came up with the perfect yarn. She's like, it was funny because she asked me, do you have another yarn you could use? I'm like, no, I have no other yarn. I'm a smart ass sometimes. She knows I have yarn. But anyway, I chose this. And this is, oh boy, this is really blowing out. Here, I'll pull it back here. It's still blowing out. When I picked it up this morning off the shelf, I couldn't tell if this was an undyed with speckles on it or if it had a little bit of color. And I am pretty sure there is some color to this. Let me see if I get it closer, maybe you can see. But it's a very pale, pale color. I mean, hardly any color. And then speckles. This is from Moonstone Dye Works, which is Tommy, who is Dynamite Trujillo, and she has the Squirrel Pie Productions podcast and is expecting her first child, which is exciting. Not at all related to her yarn, but I just thought I'd add that piece of trivia. Anyway, this is her Stellina sock in the Katamari colorway, which is the very first yarn I ever bought of hers. I have some of her other yarn in my stash, but I love this, and it's so pretty. It's a very light, obviously I said, it's a light color, and it's got all these fun speckles in it. And I started doing it, and it's like, yes, this worked perfectly. So why don't I show you if I can do this without totally losing stitches and getting everything messed up. Sorry, hang on. I want to try to show you the little bubble areas. Or waves, I don't know. I think they're waves, not bubbles. I'm calling them bubbles though. Okay, so there you go. Now when this is blocked, I think those will be a little bit more prominent, but it just shows up so well, and it goes really well with the blue. And again, it's blowing out because it's bright in here, even though it's a completely overcast day. Let me get it closer. Yeah, that's really not going to help. It's still going to be blown out. Anyway, I am very, very happy with this. I'm perfectly happy with it. And it's funny because it's a Stellina yarn, so it's got a little bit of sparkle to it, which the other yarn does not have. I am a total fan of putting together sparkle yarn with no sparkle yarn in the same project. I did it in my Find Your Fade. I think I did it in something else. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I have no problem doing that, and I really like the effect. And I sort of had this idea that this might look like, you know, like something sparkly underwater, because that's what this reminds me of. Like this blue is just like deep water, and it'd just be like some sparkly, I don't know, rocks or strata in the ground under the water. Whatever. At any rate, I'm happy with it. It's working really well. My size modification is working out well, And yeah, the little bubbles or waves, those are made with short rows, and I'm doing German short rows rather than wraps and turns, and that's working out well. Though I will admittedly tell you, I'm not sure that I'm doing the German short rows correctly because I haven't watched the video in a long time, but whatever I'm doing, whether it's actually correct or not, is working, so I'm just going to go with it. So that is winning, and I'm telling you what, this is addictive, kind of like a self-striping sock. I just want to keep going until I get to the next contrasting stripe section, except we're talking about a lot more stitches than a sock, so it takes a lot longer. So I can't just sit and knit on this all the time, unfortunately. Whoops, I didn't put my pattern back in there. All right, I'll do that later. So those are the two projects that I mostly worked on. That's not true. There's one other one, but that one I will not be showing you until I get to the shop section because it's a sample for a new colorway that's going to be the pre-order colorway that is my 7th anniversary colorway. So I'll show you that when we get to the shop news section. So please hang on so you can see this, because even if you're not interested in buying it, I just want you to see it because I love it. Okay, I haven't worked on anything else, and I probably am not going to be working on a whole lot of anything else until I get through these first couple of shows, quite honestly. I don't know. Could change, but we'll see. Well, the shows aren't going to change. What I work on might change, but I'm really enjoying these projects right now, and I want to get those inversible socks done so that I can send them off to their recipient. All right. The alongs. As I said, the January-February along, which was the Finished Frog Repair or Repurpose Along, is now over. Finished yesterday, and I want to thank everybody who took part in that. I have unstickied the thread in the group, but I didn't lock it. If you want to continue your conversation and keep sharing what you're working on, please do. Just because it's over does not mean you can't continue to finish, frog, repair, or repurpose your items. I would love to see your continued projects. But we're done with the official along, and I'm going to announce the last two winners. I drew two winners near the end of January. I don't think I did it right at the end of January or when January was completely finished. So when I drew the February winners, I did use the posts from the whole entire along, from, you know, post number 2 all the way through the very last one. Although I do believe both winners actually were from February, for what that's worth. Okay, so let me show you what the prize options are first, so that you'll know. The first prize option is a skein of my Mega Base in the Leaf Pile colorway. So this is bulky in Leaf Pile, fun variegated colorway. Another prize option is a skein of my Traveler Base in the Dragonfly colorway, which is also a variegated. It's kind of a bluish green variegated color. Traveler is a sport weight. And lastly, I have a set of my Asymmetra sets. I had done these for the Pigskin Party, the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin Party, when I was sponsoring the December interception. And I had a few of these sets left. I have since taken them out of the shop because they were just sitting there. And I think I'm just going to use them for prizes. So this is the one that I'm offering now. This one, I know you can't see it real well because it's in a bag. These are worsted weight. There is a half skein of, okay, I have to read this correctly. All right, the half skein, sorry, the half skein is of my Purple Haze colorway, which is a variegated and speckled colorway. And then there are 2 quarter skeins in here. One is sky blue, the other is grape juice purple. So they all coordinate, and you could do something fun. This would be great for mitts or a hat or whatever. Could do your own striping however you wanted. So there's a worsted weight option, a sport weight option, and a bulky weight option. Different colors, so you can, if you're one of the winners, please PM me on Ravelry. Let me know your first and second choice of prize, and whichever one is available still, I will send that one off to you, and also send me your full name and mailing address. Okay, so the winners chosen by random number generator. I did one winner from the whole general chatter thread, and then I chose another winner just from the posts that had images. So the general chatter thread, that was from post number 2 through 250 252, I believe, or 255. I don't remember now. Sorry. At any rate, the random number generator chose post 251, which was really close to the end, and that was Tanya Twister, who is Tanya. So congratulations, Tanya. Tanya finished a lovely sweater that had been on her needles for a while, so congratulations for getting your sweater finished. And please PM me with your choice of prize, your first choice and second choice. Since there's 2 winners, you'll end up getting one of those. Okay, and then from the image posts, I believe there were, oh my gosh, I can't remember now. I'm sorry, I didn't write that part down. I think there were like over 200 images altogether. Random number generator chose image number something, 75, the 75th image. So to do that, I had to count. The 75th image was in post number 177, and that was Knitter Chow, who is Kathy. So congratulations, Kathy. She finished a beautiful shawl that was this pretty color gradient, as opposed to a non-color gradient, Lisa. I don't know. Yeah, it was a beautiful gradient colored shawl. And so congratulations, Kathy. Again, please PM me with your full name and mailing address and your top 2 prize choices out of these 3 prizes, and I'll get that sent off to you. Thank you to everybody who took part. I've been enjoying watching everybody's progress, and it's so much fun having multiple threads going where everybody's taking part. The chatter has been grand. I can't always keep up with everything, at least in response, but I do try to read everything. So I pop in when I can, but I am reading all your posts. All right, so that leaves us currently with the February March along, which is the Handspun-along. So you're either spinning your own handspun, or you're knitting from your own handspun, or you're knitting from someone else's handspun. So that will continue through the rest of this month. You know, I'm just thinking I probably should have drawn a February winner for that, and I did not. I'm a bad podcaster. I will make a note to do that next recording. I will announce the February winners for that along. Sorry, I dropped the ball there. Starting today, however, the March-April along officially starts, and that's the Shawlwy along. So if you're working on any shawls, there you go. Please post in that thread. If you're starting a shawl, if you have a shawl that you've been working on, it can be works in progress. Nothing has to be finished at the end of it. We're just talking about shawls and sharing our shawl progress. And if you're doing a hand spun shawl, you can be posting about it in both threads. Please don't just post the same exact post in both threads though. They need to be unique posts, but they can be about the same shawl, okay? Yeah, so that will be March and April. All right, I have no new things to show you today. The only new things I got in the mail was a set of needles, and that's not very exciting because it was just a set of US 5 Haya-Hayas that I'm going to eventually transfer my Winnie shawl onto because it's longer than the one I have now. So that takes us to 10%. Pretty much my 10% is completely house related regarding my house and getting it ready to sell. We made progress last weekend on the kitchen project. Bill got, I would say, about 3/4 of the floor down. We're putting in ceramic tile. And then we ran out of mortar. And so we kind of came to a grinding halt there, and we were going to run out to Lowe's and pick up more mortar and get back to work. But then I think I told you there was someone who was already interested in the house, and she and her boyfriend wanted to come over and look at it, so they ended up coming over at that point. And so we never did get back to the floor. Long story short, they are interested in the house. They made an offer. We negotiated a bit on the offer and finally came to a number that we were both happy with, contingent upon certain things. There's a lot. I'm not going to go into all the details. Some of it was a little bit weird and I wasn't exactly sure how to handle it. There was work that we were planning to do that they're like, oh no, please don't do that. And then in the meantime, I'm like, but the house has to be appraised for your mortgage and this work has to be done before the appraisal. So that was some of the negotiation that we've done this week. But we're at a good place. I feel really comfortable with this. My schedule, I've had to explain to them too, you know, I have all these shows. I have my own business. I've scheduled all my business stuff around the plan to have the house ready to put on the market in April, and now everything's happening like almost 2 months earlier because I was thinking like late April. So I can't be ready to sell it right this minute. So things are going to be a little delayed, which is giving us enough time to finish the work that we really need to do. There will be some work that we were planning to do that we won't have to do, which is nice, because they don't need it to be done. They don't want it to be done. They're going to come in and do it themselves, like certain painting and things like that. So that will afford us a little bit of extra time. But the biggest thing beyond finishing the kitchen is I have to pack my whole entire house up and we have to move it up here. And I was not thinking I was going to be in that position until like late June at the earliest. And now suddenly that all has to happen. And I'm telling you what, I'm panicked over it because number one, I don't know where we're going to go with a lot of this stuff. Number two, there were a lot of things in my house that I wasn't planning to have to move. I thought I would have time to disposition them otherwise, but I'm probably not going to have that time. So it's all a little bit stressful on that end. I'm trying to remain calm and I'm trying to, you know, not get too stressed out. And then there's the aspect that once the house is appraised, we are both reserving the right to call off the deal if appraisal goes too far one way or the other from the price that we agreed on. I don't know if that's normal or the way things usually work in house deals. Like I said, I'm not using a realtor. We're selling it ourselves. I'm working with my lawyer, you know, or our lawyer to, you know, make sure everything's kosher. But I also feel like we have the latitude to put those kind of clauses in if necessary, because it's best for both of us. You know, I don't want either of us to be disadvantaged financially by the deal. So anyway, that's probably more than you needed to know about that. All that to say is life is definitely going to be a bit challenging time-wise in the next couple of months. I don't know how that's going to affect my recording schedule specifically. I just know that it probably will. I don't know how that's going to affect my shop update schedule, but I know it probably will. So I'm just going to ask you to be patient. Thank you so much for your gracious comments when I talked about this last week. A lot of people said, hey, life happens. Life, you have to take care of that stuff first. Your business is important, and thank you. Thank you so much for understanding. I'm going to get weepy because I get weepy over everything anymore right now. But no, thank you so much for just being patient and sticking with me even though things are a little crazy right now. I guess on the upside of this, I just keep trying to look forward to the fact that in a couple of months, all goes well, my house will be sold and things should be so much calmer in so many ways. Let's move on to shop news. All right, I got to get my show notes adjusted here. All right, so there will be an update tomorrow, Friday, March 2nd, 6 p.m. Eastern, right? It's going to be small, but there's one big thing. Let me talk about the littler thing. Well, not little, but the things that are not new. Number one, I will have a restock of, That's Not Even a Word, which was the Scrabble-inspired colorway, and Likely Suspects, which is the Clue-inspired colorway. I will have restocks of those two colorways on Bounce. Only Bounce. There are still other bases of both of those colorways and the other colorways up in the shop. So if you are looking for those, check them out. They're there. But I will add more of those at 6 o'clock whenever I do the shop update. So you won't see the Bounce ones in there until tomorrow at 6 o'clock. In addition to that, I am adding some sock blanks to the shop. I'm in the middle of, in addition to working on show stuff, I have a big wholesale order for sock blanks that I'm working on. And I did these and I loved how they turned out, so I want to put some in the shop too. So these are, I'm calling these the expanded rainbow because it's got 7 rainbow colors instead of just 6. But here's how they go. So they are a resist blank, which the resist kind of goes off the edge of the blank here on the one edge. You can see those, right? But the rainbow colors are on the resist. So it goes down the rainbow. And then the rest of the blank also has the rainbow colors, but they're all adjusted over one. You'll be able to see that way better whenever I take pictures. But yeah, I love them, and I love the resist, and I love how that turns out when I do this kind of a blank, because there is still some undyed space. There's in the resist and the rest of it the way it's in the pan. It's just super fun, and I like these, and I hope maybe you would too. So I am going to put a couple of these in on the non-sparkle blanks, and then a couple in on sparkle blanks. And I think I'm also going to maybe try to dye up a couple of skeins of self-striping, like a 7-colored self-striping in this expanded rainbow colorway. I know I already have my Rainbow Riot colorway, which is a 6-stripe rainbow, but that's pretty traditional rainbow colors. These are brighter rainbow colors, so I'm going to get them dyed up today. The blanks will be dry in no time, but the yarn may take a little while, so it may not actually end up in the shop until shortly before the update tomorrow, because I'll have to have it dry enough that I can reskein it. So, but I'm going to aim to have a couple of skeins of that just for fun. Okay, but now the big thing that I'm super, super excited about is my 7th anniversary colorway. So Fiber Nymph Dye Works has been in business now for 7 years. We're in our 8th year, which is crazy. It's like, it feels like just yesterday when I started. But I've been doing this for 7 years, and I have yarn tangled everywhere. Sorry. Last year I did a 6th anniversary colorway, and I want to do a 7th anniversary colorway this year. And this has 7 colors in it for 7 years, but the pattern repeat is actually a 12-stripe pattern repeat. So let me just introduce it to you by showing you the sample that I've knit up. This has been a lot of my knitting time this week too. So here it is. You've got 6 semi-solid stripes in different purples and blues. And then you've got this stripe in between each of them, which is the base color of this stripe is my Wisp colorway, which is that very, very light, a very light smoke gray is how I would describe it. It's very neutral. It's actually my new favorite neutral. It's funny, silver gray used to be my favorite neutral to work with, and then my sand colorway became my favorite neutral to work with. Now I think Wisp has overtaken both of those, for the time being anyway. I speckled the Wisp stripe though. So the Wisp stripe has speckles of each of these colors in it. But it's not a heavily speckled stripe, as you can see. It's just very modestly speckled, and it almost looks tweedy, doesn't it? I love how this turned out. I am just tickled by this. So this is a sample that I knit up on my bounce base. I'm going to have this up for pre-orders. Now here's the deal with this. By the way, I'm calling this the 7th year stitch, which is a play on words on 7-year itch, but this is way better than a 7-year itch. This is the 7th year stitch. So anyway, here's the deal. This is only going to be available by pre-order. I am not putting any of these in the shop anytime soon. This is only going to be available for pre-order or at my shows this show season. So the shows that I have now through July, I will be bringing some of this, limited quantities, and probably only in fingering weight, to my shows. But if you want it on a choice of bases, you're going to need to pre-order it. I'm going to leave the pre-order up through the entire month of May. May is what I consider my anniversary month, even though technically my business started in January. But March was my first shop update. So I always consider that kind of my anniversary month. So I'll have the pre-orders in the shop for the entire month of March. And as a thank you to you guys for being awesome, and I appreciate so much that you come back and you shop with me, or if you're a first-time buyer, that you've given me a chance. And that's never lost on me. Every time I do a shop update, or every time I ship out club shipments, which I did this week, by the way, if you're in the Happy Hour Yarn Club, your shipment went out on Tuesday. Probably, I know a bunch of you have them already. If you don't, it'll be there soon. But anyway, as I print out shipping labels and I look at the names, I see names that I've seen so many times over the 7 years. Then I see names that I've maybe only seen once or twice, and then I always see new names that have never bought from me before. And I'm always so incredibly thankful for all of you. You are why I can do what I do. If it wasn't for you guys, I would have no reason to do this. And I am so thankful that I get to do what I love to do, because I truly do love this job. And it's a job, but it's a passion, and it is something that I love. So thank you for that. And my thank you is going to come to you in the form of a little bit of free yarn. This is only good for the pre-orders. This will not happen when I have it the colorway at shows. If you pre-order a skein, well, for every skein that you pre-order, if you pre-order more than one, you get more than one bonus. You'll get a 20-gram mini skein of your choice of coordinating color. So that could be one of these 6 semi-solid colors, or it could be the speckle color. Your choice. You just need to let me know in the note to seller on your order form, or on your order, you know, in the place where it says note to seller, just put whatever color you want for your 20-gram mini skein. Your mini skein will come in the same base as whatever you ordered the yarn in. I'm going to have this up in a variety of bases. I'm probably going to put it up in almost most of my bases, really, because I'm happy to do this colorway on whatever base you want. So everything from, I won't do it on lace, but fingering weight, so bounce, bedazzled. I will put heavenly up because I know some people like my MCN base. I will have it in traveler, which is the sport weight base. I don't know that I'll do both DK and worsted weight. I'll have one or the other, probably worsted. Although there's no reason I can't put it up as pre-orders in DK too. We'll see. And that's it. I won't do it in bulky, because this many stripes in bulky, I think you might get one whole stripe repeat. That would be ridiculous. So fingering through worsted will be options. And again, my gift to you will be a complimentary 20-gram mini skein of a coordinating color of your choice. So what else do I need to tell you about that? I'm leaving the pre-orders open through the month of March, as I've said. I'm going, in the listing, you'll see my default 4 to 6 week turnaround time for pre-orders. I plan to get them shipped out sooner than that. I will not be holding them all and shipping them all at once. They'll be shipping out on a rolling basis, first ordered, first shipped. So I will get them out to you as soon as humanly possible. If you are going to be at a show between now and when your order is shipped out, yes, you may actually see this colorway there. I always waffle on that a little bit because I feel like, okay, I've got people waiting for this colorway to ship out, but I also know there's some customers that don't watch the podcast or don't know about the shop or don't see the shop, and I want to be able to offer it to them too. So that's why I will bring a little bit of this yarn to shows as well. Not to try to make it unfair for those of you who order it first online, but you will definitely be assured to get it if you pre-order it. At a show, you aren't going to be assured of that. It might be there still, it might not. Just as a reminder, my upcoming shows, the first one is on Sunday, March 18th, and that is the Homespun Yarn Party in Savage, Maryland. So that is from noon to 5 that Sunday. And then that following Saturday, March 24th, from 10 to 5 here in the Pittsburgh area, is Indie Knit and Spin, and that is at a new location, the Ace Hotel down in the East Liberty neighborhood of Pittsburgh. So I will be at both of those places in the month of March. And I've got another show in April and then one at the beginning of May, but I'll talk more about those closer to that time. And of course, just one last reminder about the Conversions Reward Program that is going on all year in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. You can find all the details there. It's a great way for you to use up your Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn and to earn new yarn. So, all right, I think that's everything. I'm going to go get this processed and get my dyeing hat on because there's lots to do. So have a wonderful rest of your week. Please be watching the shop update tomorrow night if you're interested in pre-ordering the 7th year stitch. Yeah, that's it. So take care and I'll talk to you soon. Not sure exactly when, but I will be around on social media, mostly Instagram, but there's always the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group too. Also, one last comment, and I think I said this last week too. If I do end up putting anything else up in the shop, like, you know, dire secret stash stuff, which I do have some of, I just have to find time to photograph it. I will be letting people know that via the Fiber Nymph Dye Works page on Facebook and the Instagram group and the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. So those are the places to pay attention to if I'm not podcasting when that stuff's happening. So, all right, that's everything. Talk to you soon. Bye.